Something that I'm really grateful for about the way that I was raised, that I really hated at the time, is that we didn't have internet. Now, I'm just now 30, so everybody my age grew up with the internet. And I didn't, and I hated that fact so much. But the more that I watch the trends of things like online porn and OnlyFans and, Instagram models and things like this, and the more that I see the research on it, I'm actually really grateful for the fact that I didn't have internet. And one other thing, I was not a very sexual person as a teenager because of, childhood trauma that I had. And so I wasn't super interested in having sex. And so I stayed away from porn at a time in my life when I was probably the most susceptible to it. Additionally, OnlyFans and these other pay-for-view, I say that to, kind of differentiate from pay-per-view. It's like pay for viewing, whatever. You can make requests, you can pay to be a member and have the people do something, give them your fetish and they'll do it if you pay enough money, sort of thing. None of this existed at the time. All the way, I was probably about 25, 26 when this happened, and I was out of that phase where this sort of thing could have even been remotely appealing. So I kind of escaped perfectly. But I look around and I see, number one, like all the money that people are making from this, these OnlyFans models are making millions and millions of dollars. There's the one, Nala something, that just very famously walked away from OnlyFans and became like a committed Christian and is now preaching to people about Christianity and making a ton of money doing it. I find this very interesting, and I am very, very, very skeptical about this conversion. That's neither here nor there. That's just my personal opinion. There's too much money to be made. I've watched the Christian grift. People like Josh Fierstein back in the day on YouTube and Facebook making tons and tons of money by just saying what they think Christians want to hear. It's like a built-in audience, kind of like that episode of South Park where Cartman does the Faith Plus One situation. But I've linked in the description an article, but beyond that, I want you to just, if you're skeptical of the things that I'm saying, just Google the psychological effects of porn and see what you come up with, because it's pretty disturbing. But the article that I have linked is a scientific study where they were just looking at the effects, like long-term effects and psychological effects and physiological effects of using porn. And chronic porn use is associated with ED under the age of 40, which was very, very rare until, porn use became common. But other things, it affects your relationships, not just your romantic relationships, but friendships. People start to get more and more distant. They're replacing that relationship with a fantasy. Their satisfaction in a sexual relationship or romantic relationship is incredibly decreased, and this, I think this contributes to the large amount, the body counts getting higher and higher and higher, because people aren't satisfied with their partner, and these things, their desires get crazier and crazier. If you go look at porn trends, it's gone from just like basic porn to like gangbangs to transgender to like all of these, it gets more and more, teen is one of the more popular ones. I remember a couple of years ago, that one went viral. Like the New York Post wrote an article about it. Like, oh, now everybody wants to see teenager porn. Like, that's crazy. And of course, like the stepbrother, stepsister, stepmother, stepfather, like all that, that's all huge. I wonder how much of this, the more that people watch, the trend seems to be the crazier the thing is. And once you get to a certain point, how in the world do you expect your partner to provide what, the sort of fetish that you have? And, when it comes to like OnlyFans in particular, when you can pay somebody to do what you want to see them do, that tends to replace the real relationship. But the most disturbing for me is just that distance in relationships. And of course, the chronic depression and things like that. But the being distant in relationships, it'll end marriages. It ends relationships all the time. And, look, these people are consenting adults. And as someone who's always been fairly libertarian and liberal, do what you want. But I'm starting to think that these people that are doing OnlyFans are actually doing something incredibly destructive to the people consuming it. And, the regulation of porn, to a lot of states are now requiring you to prove that you're over 18 years old, I think is maybe not the worst thing. In fact, I think it's a very good thing. But even so, this is something that is as destructive to people as drugs, depending on, hard drugs even, like, things like pills or something. You might as well be hooked on something other than porn. It's an addiction that is, it's very hard to look at it and once you know the negative impacts of it, think that, hey, this is something that should be allowed to, be so mainstream, because it is mainstream. It's all over. You go to Instagram, Snapchat, any Discover page, Twitter, Facebook, you will find softcore porn of men and women all over the place. You don't even have to look for it. It's just there. Like my Discover page on TikTok, even, it's even on there. I'm not on TikTok, but you see it all the time, like popping up as like YouTube Shorts or whatever. But like my Discover page on X is nothing but like, well, not nothing, but it's all political posts for the most part, because that's what I like and share. But there's always like a few that sneak in that are these they're thirst trap girls. They're trying to get the attention so that they can make money off ads on X. And it's just absolutely nuts that this is a thing. I think that the people that are doing OnlyFans and porn and stuff, like, look, you're an adult, you can make that decision, but I think that they should be introspective about the morality of what they're doing, because I think it's very destructive to a lot of people. Now, granted, those people should have better self-control and shouldn't be messing around with it in the first place, especially because everyone knows that porn is dangerous now. But I don't understand how you can feel like you're a good person. They probably don't care with the money that they're making, but I struggle to see that you can be a good person and engage in that kind of activity. So that's about all.